Let's get this crap over with. Well, my name is Paul, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars. Nope, not those. These. Now, if you're tuning in from Moviegoer, welcome. If you're new here, Moviegoer is a movie review show I do with my friend Max Flores. You can check out the playlist here. You might recognize Max from such classics as
What's your name? Tony! You, Tony! You, what's your name? What? What's your name? Ezekiel! Ezekiel? That fucking sucks!
or
Max, what do you want for dinner?
Justice.
I'll be repeating some of the same points from the Moviegoer reviews and expanding on them. So, in the last Jedi review I said, actually, how about this? If anyone in the comments wants me to go on a full-on rant about the whole Star Wars sequel trilogy, I'll put that on my channel.
Okay.
So here's the full rant on why these movies are abominations of mankind. As the first movie in a new trilogy, it's fine. The problems I had with the characters I thought would be developed or carry some kind of meaning in the later entries. Unfortunately, the horrible atrocities that came next kind of ruined this one. Star Wars has always been one of my favorite franchises. I love the originals, I enjoyed the prequels, I used to read the books and comics, I love the expanded lore in the video games, a rich universe full of amazing stories to explore. So what does Disney decide to do? Erase it from canon. What a joke! Not only was this disappointing for the movies, but does anyone remember the awesome games that were coming out? 1313 being cancelled is one of gaming's greatest failures. We should have known the travesties to come. But still, even with the disappointment of my favorite stories being invalid, I was looking forward to Force Awakens. This was the first new big Star Wars project since Episode 3. Anyway, I remember me and my friends theorizing, you think they'll adapt the Jason Solo story? Well, they kind of did, but made him Ben Solo. Why? Really? What significance does the name Ben have with Han and Leia? It was Luke who named his son Ben because he actually had a relationship with Obi-Wan, and continued having a relationship as a Force ghost. Han didn't give a crap, and Leia barely knew him. And this was before that ungodly, abysmal trash Obi-Wan show that they had to justify this. But if you're gonna use names from the books, just call him Jason. Ben Solo makes no sense for these characters. Whatever. So they made him into an annoying crybaby. Okay, fine. Anakin was moody, so I guess he really wants to be like his grandfather. Oh, and by the way, I thought his mask was pretty cool. It looks menacing and his voice was intimidating, but when he takes it off, it's some bozo that doesn't even need it. I haven't seen too many movies with Adam Driver, but I know he's a good actor. It's a shame his talent is wasted in this dung heap of a trilogy. Anyway, I accepted his moodiness because I expected some kind of character arc, some kind of development. Him killing Han Solo was a huge risk. Really following in his grandpa's footsteps. The black-robed villain kills the mentor in front of the group of heroes. Fine, whatever. They're playing it safe. I understand wanting to follow more in line with the original trilogy, especially after the poor reception of the prequels, so it didn't really bother me. Now, what really bothered me was the complete underutilization of the Raid stunt team. Have you guys seen these movies? Masterpieces of action cinema. Some of the greatest martial arts scenes ever. The car chase from the Raid 2 is astonishing. When they announced they got the guys from the Raid movies in this, I was so excited. Can you imagine the amazing fight choreography, but in Star Wars? The creative, cool moves with lightsabers, or those lightning baton things? Maybe some Force-enhanced martial arts. A totally new, unique fight style that we've never seen in a Star Wars movie. It could have been like those The Old Republic animated trailers. So awesome. Instead, they get trampled by a giant testicle. Are you kidding me? What a waste! What's the point? Why waste such a talented cast on stupid no-name roles? Whose idea was this? Like, come on, man. A side note, you know what Star Wars movie did kind of utilize this martial arts actor? Rogue One. I remember when they announced Donnie Yen was going to be in it. I didn't really care because we got burned so bad with the raid guys, so it at least exceeded my zero expectations. But if you really want to see Donnie Yen in action, check out the Ip Man movies. Especially the first one, that 10-man fight scene. If you know, you know. Well, anyway. You know what else was kind of stupid but actually kind of funny now? Han being a total deadbeat. I don't know what it is about Disney and ruining legacy characters, especially for Harrison Ford. This and Indiana Jones and the Diarrhea of Destiny. He's a once accomplished hero turned into a loser, divorced from his main love interest and estranged from his son. Crazy. Speaking of heroes that turned into losers, I know what's on everyone's mind. We'll get to Luke later. Now that I think of it, Donnie Yen played a legacy sequel character in Legend of the Fist. But this, actually treats the character with respect. This is a sequel to the Bruce Lee movie, Fist of Fury. Isn't it kind of funny? He played Bruce Lee's mentor in Ip Man, and then played a character made famous by Bruce Lee. Oh, anyway, whatever. I'm getting off track. So the other characters. Rey. Yeah, so she's super overpowered. But I was looking forward to learning why. I didn't mind the idea of Rey not having any lineage with the Skywalkers or other legacy characters. I thought Ben Solo being a Skywalker was enough. I remember people complaining that Rey shouldn't have beaten Kylo at the end. Even in his weakened state, she still shouldn't have won. But he did get blasted by Chewie's bowcaster. I don't know. I still understand the complaint, though. Poe Dameron. I don't think I had any issues with him. Nothing really jarring that comes to mind. He's the Han Solo clone of the trio, cocky hotshot pilot. Once again, he was set up, and I was looking forward to how important he would be in the next installment. What pivotal role would they give this new character to really let him develop and grow? So Finn. He's up there as being one of the most disrespected characters in the trilogy. Luke is still number one. But man, I couldn't wait to see Finn become something great. An abducted child soldier, forced into being a stormtrooper, turned into a Jedi, or at least a Force user. That would have been so cool and original. So many awesome possibilities. He was already a trained fighter. He could have developed a unique fighting style that mixes guns and lightsabers. Even the marketing teased us. He was the one with Anakin's lightsaber. I thought he was gonna keep that one and Rey would make her own, like convert her staff into a double-bladed saber or something.
He's the first character we see in any trailer for.
Yeah.
He literally is. Sorry. Oh, you're bringing up all like I forgot about that. He's literally the first face you see.
I was genuinely curious to learn what was coming next. I think this set up a bunch of cool arcs. There has to be some kind of interesting explanation for how Maz got Luke's old lightsaber.
Where'd you get that?
A good question. For another time.
There's a mysterious new villain worth learning about. Even seeing how Phasma and Finn's rivalry develops. I think we're all disappointed that the original trilogy we love can't be reunited on screen. But there's gotta be a really heartbreaking and powerful reason to have Luke Skywalker, the beacon of hope, sit this one out. I've heard some people argue Force Awakens is the worst because it spawned Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. But it doesn't really matter. Force Awakens could have been the greatest film ever in the history of the world. Last Jedi would still happen exactly the way it did because it not only ignores Force Awakens, it ignores the entire Star Wars saga. It ignores everything we love about Star Wars. It's already bad enough that this trilogy had no real plan from the start. Yeah, there was a loose outline J.J. Abrams made to give to the other directors, but not much. But isn't it kind of messed up to just ignore that? You're asked to make a sequel to a $2 billion movie that smashed box office records, and you pretty much flip them off. And not only J.J. Abrams, you also ignore all of Mark Hamill's disagreements about the character, and do something so out in left field that it derailed the trilogy. To me, that's not what makes a good director. That's a dictatorship. Some of the better films that I've worked on were with directors that cared and collaborated. But the doors were open, man. He had a bunch of new and old characters to build with, and he somehow found the worst possible storylines imaginable. But it's also the leadership's fault to allow this to happen. So many easily avoidable factors caused this to be one of the most disappointing films in history. It's many years later, and we're still talking about it. But before we get into it, I have kind of a funny story. I told this in the moviegoer review, so I'll be quick, but I went with my brother opening weekend to a theater we didn't go too often because it was kind of out of the way. But we're sitting in the lobby, and my one friend comes in, and we say hi, and then one of his brothers strolls in, and then another, and another. He has a big family. But it was all unplanned. We just happened to be there at the same time. So we sat together to enjoy the next thrilling chapter in the saga we all loved since childhood. We couldn't believe what happened. I felt like we were violated. We didn't even say bye to each other. We just shuffled back to our cars, heads down, defeated. Everything we hoped for, everything we wanted to learn, everything we wanted to be seen explored was thrown in the trash. Or literally, thrown off a cliff. Really? That's the payoff from last movie's big cliffhanger? Pathetic. Absolutely atrocious. Rey spends most of the runtime looking for this broken hero, the last beacon of hope in a war-torn galaxy. You know, at first, the idea that Luke was a hermit, I thought was okay. It was a compelling mystery. What could have possibly caused Luke Skywalker, the guy that redeemed Darth Vader and saved the galaxy, to give up all hope? It must have been something hugely important. Something so heartbreaking and powerful to break a man that strong-willed. Even Mark Hamill came up with a devastating backstory.
So I made up a much, much darker backstory that I thought could justify him being that way. I thought, what could make someone give up being a Jedi? Well, the love of a woman. So he falls in love with a woman. He gives up being a Jedi. They have a child together. At some point, the child, as a toddler, picks up an unattended lightsaber, pushes the button, and is killed instantly. The wife is so full of grief, she kills herself. That resonated with me so deeply.
Like, yeah, dude, that's rough. Totally understandable. This would have been a great opportunity to bring in Mara Jade. Well, no. Actually, Disney would have called her, like, Kreia or something totally unrelated. Also, they can't name their son Ben because that's already taken. So you know what? Maybe it's best they spared these characters from the Disney assassination. Even my friend Brian behind the camera came up with an awesome backstory that would have worked too.
So like Paul said, what could have harmed or scared Luke so bad, the savior of the galaxy, that he had to go out and hide, and no one can find him? Well, my biggest thing I was looking forward to was not addressed in The Force Awakens, so I did like what anyone else would do, and I started Googling it and making my own theories. So this is after The Force Awakens, but before The Last Jedi came out, and I learned that Luke starts a school to teach the new way of Jedi to the new era of younglings. This includes Ben Solo, and this little community of his becomes like his own foster children. But like a lot of common stories, the new generation may disagree with the old way of doing things. So over time, Luke is teaching them, and I don't know, maybe they start to side more with the Sith rather than the Jedi, and in secret start scheming on how to overthrow Luke and really tap into the Sith way of doing things. So as they get older, they start plotting together to overthrow Luke, and with that, attack him, destroy the school. Luke has no choice because he loses, and maybe hides away. And in doing so, they grow up and do their own things, and eventually become the big thing I was looking forward to, the Knights of Ren. And as they start wreaking havoc in the galaxy and killing everyone, because they were so close with Luke, through the Force, he feels every death that they cause. Hundreds upon thousands of people throughout the galaxy, and aliens. And because of that, it's too much for him, he's debilitated and hides away and completely disconnects from the Force because he can't take it. And I don't blame him. Picture this. Hear me out. Because I went way off the rocker. So, in the in the final movie, Luke makes it all the way to the end. They're scheming to take down the big bad, and Luke separates real quick to set a trap. So Rey is going off to go find Kylo, take him on, and she does. Little battle ensues. You think that's it, and then the Knights of Ren show up. Backup. Luke shows up as well. Less backup. And as Rey goes to take them on, the odds are against them. Finn is off doing his own thing. He's stuck. Poe is out dogfighting. He's stuck. Just them, and they're outnumbered. But Luke tells her to go on and to trust him. And she's like, why? And he says, hear me out. Maybe you can throw a clip of Kylo be like, I will finish what you...
And I will finish what you started.
So Kylo says, I will finish what you started, to Anakin. But Luke says to Rey, I will finish what I started. So that echoes, you know, the sentiment of our great George Lucas of the, it has to rhyme. It's like poetry. It has to rhyme. And then as the fight goes in, Luke is kind of playing tag, and he's doing well, but he's kind of just surviving. Way too outnumbered. But springs his trap. The Knights of Ren are stuck, and it's just him and Ben. He tries to reason with him, but echoing, I don't know, what's that one movie? The Phantom Menace? Maybe, I don't know. Obi-Wan, when he's trapped behind the force field, and it's Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul, and he's just waiting for that time to finally come out and help out. The Knights of Ren are pacing behind a force field or whatever trap that Luke sprung on them. Whatever he sprung on them. And they're waiting to come out, and this is where Luke tries to reason with him. So it's not a battle of strength, it's a battle of will. And as he's talking reason to him, the Knights of Ren are kind of like the angel-devil dynamic, where they're yelling at him not to give in, and Luke is yelling at him to give in. And this kind of can touch on Paul's point, where he's just like a angsty teenager, and he constantly throws fits, and he's like a spoiled baby. I think this recontextualizes where he's so conflicted internally that he does act out. And one thing that I love, the little thing I thought about, is that he's always taking his mask off. And he's like, oh, he's this dweeb. What's he doing in there? He's hiding his face, but he takes his mask off, and maybe they can kind of touch upon that the other knights don't. You never see their face. So that's also kind of a visual showing of him just swaying. He just can't keep it together on one side. So eventually, as they're going through and it comes to a pivotal moment, the Knights of Ren break out. As they're rushing Luke, going to kill him, going for the kill, last minute lightsabers maybe right here, or right here, or right here, whatever. Maybe he's got all lightsabers and weapons on him. With that, they stop, and you're like, okay, what's holding them up? And Kylo comes through, force holding them, which, I don't know, echoes the first sequel trilogy movie of him holding that blaster fire. But he's holding now his team and pulls them back, and now they're separated, and they know where they stand, he knows where he stands, and now it's a 2 versus them. In summation, they get it on. It's a great fight. It's awesome. It's epic. But with the emotional weight, maybe like a rendition of Duel of the Fates or something. And it's not really like an epic final battle. It's just like really emotional and heavy. Because, again, a little me getting artsy-fartsy. What if every flash from the lightsabers clashing and the fight is going out is actually a flashback? And every time that their weapons collide, it's a flashback to them when they were sparring. And then that's children, and that's the only time you see the Knights of Ren faces, when they were children, when they were still on the side of light. And just adding that emotional turmoil, Luke ends up maybe, again, having another trap or getting them in a way where they don't have to kill them, because Kylo doesn't want to kill his brothers, Luke doesn't want to kill his children. Maybe he gets something to kind of fall on them, and they all have to work together to hold it up. And it's like, great, you guys got to stay there. Don't move. We can end this like this. We're going to go on our way. You guys figure it out. But they want to kill Luke so bad, and Kylo now, because he turned on them. But the Knights of Ren, full of rage, full of hate, losing, and also being betrayed by Kylo, they decide they're going to try it. And, I don't know, echoing the sentiments from another movie, it just rhymes. Luke tells them, don't try it. And, similar fashion of Anakin, they try it. And because of that, whatever the trap is, maybe the thing collapses on them, and they seal their own fate. And it's still not a great victory, because although they didn't have to kill them, they're still gone. Luke lost his children, Kylo lost his brothers, and it's just like a good, heart-wrenching character development. Closing, adding more weight to these characters that look so cool and had nothing going for them. And yeah, that's about everything I had. That's what I was hoping for, and we saw how well that went. So I'm gonna go back over there. You got this.
So what could have been so heartbreaking and so meaningful and powerful to make our favorite hero so distraught? He has a bad dream.
I saw darkness. I'd sensed it building in him. I'd seen it in moments during his training. But then I looked inside, and it was beyond what I ever imagined. Snoke had already turned his heart. He would bring destruction and pain and death at the end of everything I love because of what he will become. And for the briefest moment of pure instinct, I thought I could stop it. It passed like a fleeting shadow. And I was left with shame. And with consequence. And the last thing I saw were the eyes of a frightened boy whose master had failed him.
You gotta be kidding me. What? What a joke! What a slap in the face. Complete character assassination. We get this stupid flashback of Luke's Jedi Academy, which would have been pretty cool to see more of. Maybe add a little extra backstory to the Knights of Ren too. But we get this dumb flashback of Luke Skywalker, you know, the hero of the rebellion, attempting to kill his nephew because of a bad dream. Who thought this was a good idea? Really? This is the guy who looked Darth Vader straight to his face and told him, "I sense good in you." This is the guy who witnessed his aunt and uncle, who raised him, be burnt to a char, and still found the courage to stand up against the Empire. This is the guy who chose saving his friends over his own training and well-being, a man so strong-willed he defied Yoda and Obi-Wan to protect those he cared about and put himself in grave danger. I don't think I can express it more clearly. How does this guy reach a point where he's willing to kill his teenage nephew in his sleep? Disgrace to Luke Skywalker, a disgrace to mankind. I couldn't believe it. Maybe the other characters have some kind of development that makes sense? Nope. Let me ask something. What was the purpose of marketing your ex-Stormtrooper character using Luke's old lightsaber? Can someone help me understand? Finn's entire side story has literally nothing to do with the main plot. Sure, I get that he's a deserter and he keeps trying to leave the Resistance, but didn't he kind of learn his lesson in The Force Awakens? You know, developing a friendship with Poe? I guess not. You can cut out that whole 45 minutes and nothing changes. I thought his whole character growth was going to be through his rivalry with Phasma, his former commanding officer. This is where Force Awakens messed up. That fight where he uses the lightsaber and battles that random no-name stormtrooper, that should have been Phasma. He fights, he's scared, he almost gets killed, but one of the others saves him. Maybe Chewie hits her with the bowcaster. We've already established the bowcaster is crazy strong, so maybe we see her take the hit but not get too fazed by it. It gives Finn a chance to escape and shows how strong she is. Then in The Last Jedi, they have the second showdown. Finn could have been training with Rey or practicing with Poe, so he's prepared. They get into a fight, and this time she underestimates him, and the fight is more even. But Finn still loses. He's still not totally ready, kind of like how Luke was in Empire Strikes Back. Give us a reason to root for the guy. And then by the third movie, he's fully developed into the hero he was meant to be, and the third showdown, he finally beats her. What a shame. Instead, he goes to this casino planet to find a guy who can disable the First Order's hyperdrive tracking. But it doesn't matter because they find someone else who can do it. But nope, it's actually a trap. But it doesn't matter anyway because the ship gets destroyed from that stupid purple-haired chick, which I'll get into that later. So what's the purpose of this story? So we learn that exploiting the poor and selling weapons is bad? Wow, who would have thought? Thanks! Do you want to subvert expectations? Okay, he's not going to be a Jedi. And you don't give him anything to do for most of the movie. So, what do? You have him make a brave sacrifice to save the Resistance during their last stand? Wow, that would have subverted my expectations. Making one of the main trio die a heroic death? Nope. That annoying girl he's been stuck with the whole time swoops in and crashes into his ship. What could have been an emotional moment gets completely ruined. Which, by the way, she could have killed him and herself. Also, they can share a kiss as their friends are being annihilated in the background. Wow, so touching. Isn't it so romantic? Dooming the resistance and potentially killing ourselves? Pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, what was Poe Dameron's whole story? The selfish hothead that could have gotten a cool arc? Maybe he learns to be more humble. Maybe to be more collaborative. Nope. Instead, he gets sidelined by this purple-haired lady named Holdo, who for some idiotic reasons decides not to tell anyone the plan of escaping the First Order. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you should just trust your leaders. Yeah, because nothing bad has ever happened from just blindly trusting your superiors. What were they thinking? That's not a good moral to teach. That's something the First Order would want you to do. She was being super cryptic and dismissive. Of course he's going to be suspicious. We're all suspicious. But she was good all along, so it's okay. You should have just trusted her. Which brings up the major issue of this whole movie again. Subverting expectations just for the sake of subverting expectations. There's no gravity to anything. It's like the boy who cried wolf. I stopped believing anything is important. Poe's cocky and selfish. But wasn't Han Solo that way too? All through A New Hope. He's only saving Leia for the money. Luke, once again, and I need to reiterate how Luke is a beacon of hope, expresses his disappointment in Han's selfishness and inspires him to become a better person. This gives him a meaningful arc. Instead, we get lies, deception. No meaningful development, no reason to care, no reason to become a better person. Pathetic. Another major issue with this movie is the trio is split up the entire time. The best parts are when they're together. Sure, Empire Strikes Back has them split up, but Han and Leia had development, and Luke was training. We could have had Poe and Finn develop their friendship. Maybe Poe inspires Finn to stay with the Resistance, and Finn teaches Poe about humility. Which kind of leads into another major missed opportunity. You know when the First Order's catching up, and Holdo goes hyperspeed and crashes into the ship? Which is stupid on its own, but I'll get into that later. Wouldn't it have been so much more impactful having Admiral Akbar make the sacrifice? Why waste so much runtime on forcing a stupid subplot? We could have had Admiral Akbar be a mentor to Poe. Develop the relationship and give Poe a reason to become a better person. If Finn was around, they could have learned and grew in their own ways. Then, when he decides to make it the sacrifice, it would be heartbreaking. Instead, he gets obliterated off screen. I didn't even realize he was there. I was too distracted by whatever this is. What a waste. You want to subvert expectations? Make them mean something. Here's an idea.
Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
There's too many minor twists and turns. It gets tiresome. Like I said, it's the boy who cried wolf. I've been burned or lied to so many times. By the time something important is supposed to happen, I don't care. Or I don't even realize it's supposed to be important. Because nothing else has mattered so far. Pathetic. Which brings me to Kylo Ren, the whiny crybaby. So after killing Han in the last movie, I thought we would see him become even more evil and unredeemable, or regret his actions and start a new path. The bit when he kills Snoke, was a cool twist, because I thought it was going to develop his character. Wow, okay, so Snoke isn't the big bad of this trilogy? We're doubling down on Kylo? Nice. He's going to be the major villain? He has no one to answer to, and can finally be the ruthless leader he wants to be, take the throne by force. And you know what's funny? Everyone likes to rag on that throne room fight scene. Weapons disappearing or reappearing. The wacky choreography, missing their marks. Whatever, man. So, he explains that Rey is a nobody. Her parents don't matter, blah blah, let the past die, kill it if you have to. Okay, fine. Actually, that's not a bad moral to teach. You don't need to have a powerful lineage to be something great. Anyone can make their own destiny. This would have been fine if it was planned from the start. But clearly, it wasn't. So it comes off cheap.
At the beginning, there was toying with like an Obi-Wan connection, and then it really went. There were like different versions, and then it really went to that she was no one. And then it came to episode 9, and JJ pitched me the film and was like, "Oh yeah, Palpatine's granddaddy," and I was like, "Awesome." And then 2 weeks later, he was like, "Oh, we're not sure." So it kept changing. So then even I was filming, and I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be.
Now remember in Return of the Jedi, when Luke has that conversation with Vader? Face to face, he tells him, Anakin Skywalker is not dead. I still see good in you.
I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
That's our hero becoming a true Jedi. And that's the spark that made Vader start doubting being a Sith. So Kylo Ren cuts the head off the First Order and becomes the new leader. Now he'll be tempted to give it all up. Well, that was fast. Okay, but whatever. But nope. Instead, we get Luke toying with him. What? Strike me down and I'll always haunt you like your father. You're a loser. See you around, kid. What? That's not Luke Skywalker. What does that accomplish? It doesn't inspire Kylo Ren to be better. It just pisses him off. What happened to leading by example? His greatest victory was won by throwing his weapon down and not giving in to anger.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side.
Subvert expectations. Oh wait, so he wasn't actually fighting? He was force projecting to remain safe so he could come back for real later? Subvert! Nope, he dies anyway. Subvert! Subvert! Wait a second. So, he doesn't have a real reunion with his sister? Subvert! He just dies alone like a loser! I understand he was trying to buy the Resistance time to get away like Obi-Wan did in Episode 4. But the whole damn movie has been subvert this, subvert that, subvert expectations. Oh wow, a neat trick. Play on the expectation that he's gonna sacrifice himself like Obi-Wan did. Nope, that was the trick. He dies anyway! Pathetic. You know what else is pathetic? Let's talk about that ending real quick. What are they celebrating? The Resistance has been reduced to like 12 people. Luke is dead, your friends are dead, your son is the evil ruler of the galaxy. This is the low point of the story. This is supposed to set up the new challenges for our heroes to overcome. Why are they happy? It comes off so forced. Great, Rey can move some rocks. That's really gonna save the galaxy. Pathetic. Rise of Skywalker. Rise of what? He's dead. The entire lineage is dead. Luke, Leia, Ben, what's supposed to be rising here?
My urge to kill myself.
Not only are there no Skywalkers anymore, but it completely undercuts Return of the Jedi and Anakin's whole prophecy. So he didn't kill Palpatine and bring balance to the Force. Great.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
It cannot be. The Emperor is dead.
Dark science. Cloning. Secrets only the Sith knew.
Wow, I love it. One of my favorite scenes in cinematic history. It's a perfect comedy. Did the Zucker brothers write this? Dude, I love it. I love how immediately after Merry contradicts himself. Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew. Well, then how do you know about it, buddy? Comedic gold. But still, it makes sense for them not to know how Palpatine returned. How would anyone? It's not explained. Yeah, sure, there's some quick shots in the beginning with failed Snoke clones. So, is that the attempt to explain it? And yeah, I know he's been cloned in the non-canon books and stuff and all that, but still, what's the point of proclaiming that the old Star Wars expanded universe is erased from canon to just poorly adapt some of those ideas anyway? But really, he shouldn't have been back in the first place. What happened to Kylo Ren taking over? Isn't he the main villain now? You made your bed, so stick with it. Now this is just ignoring Last Jedi. Maybe if they explored some of those themes, it could have brought some kind of redeeming quality. And I mean, very, very little redeeming quality to Last Jedi. But now we get this forced redemption for Kylo. So he wasn't evil all along. He was manipulated by Palpatine the whole time. This kid who throws temper tantrums over every minor inconvenience just finds out his whole life is a lie? Great. Now the audience finds out none of his story in the last 2 movies mattered either. Gee, thanks! But it's fine now, because he has a whole new empire to play with. Where did Palpatine get the 1,000 Star Destroyers from? And where did he get the crews to man the ships? Where did he get the manpower to build all of these? Let's just assume it's an isolated planet of inbred Sith worshippers. Okay, well wouldn't it take a little longer than 30 years to build a secret society on a hidden planet? And then build 1,000 ships and have enough adult people to run them? So, did he have this secret fleet the whole time? Why didn't he use it to crush the rebellion on Endor? I don't get it, man. Well, unlike this movie, let's try to get back on track here. So Kylo's stupid redemption. All he needed was his mommy, Leia, to do a forced telepathy talk with him? That's what snaps him out of it? Well, that was easy. I gotta be honest. I just rewatched this for the moviegoer review, and I already forgot most of it. Even when I saw it in theaters, I immediately forgot it. All I remembered was most of it being a giant fetch quest, and that's pretty much all it is. They go through this trouble to find the pyramid map thing, and that stupid dagger that's cut out like the Death Star wreckage. And hold on a sec. They act like this is all ancient history. It was literally 30 years ago. How did they have the time to make all this cryptic treasure maps? Everyone seems to forget how short of a time span all this is. Most of these people lived through the Empire, and even through the Clone Wars. Secrets only the Sith knew, so the scientists on Kamino were Sith Lords when they made the clone army for the Republic? Whatever. So they run into Lando on another creative-looking desert-type planet, trying to find this Wayfinder thing. Okay, fine, whatever. But this is where we learn about Rey's brilliant intelligence. When Kylo was speeding toward her in his TIE fighter, why did she exert so much energy jumping over it to cut off the wing? You know, what's wrong with this? Just put your arm up. There's plenty of room to stand under there. And then that Chewie fake-out death? By this point, I was checked out. That blew past so fast, you don't even get a chance to feel the gravity of killing a beloved character. And yeah, it's fake, but at least attempt to fool the audience. They immediately reveal that he's on another ship. And, you know, Rey's able to sense that he's alive on a distant Star Destroyer, but he couldn't sense that he wasn't on that ship from like 40 yards away. You know, it's like everything moves so fast trying to fix everything from Last Jedi. Is it the last movie in the trilogy, or really the last movie in a saga, supposed to give you answers? You know, wrap things up? Instead, it keeps raising more and more questions. I keep getting sidetracked. It's tiring. So they finally get to the Death Star remains, which, once again, leads to another question. How are there any recognizable shapes left? They went through all this trouble. Rey pinpoints the location of the Wayfinder. She sails the stormy sea just for Kylo to destroy it. But it's okay, they just use his. Why not just use his from the start? Very convenient the Sith made a spare. The entire movie is a run-on sentence of plot holes and convenience. It doesn't take a genius to think this through. Isn't it convenient Lando rallies the scraps of the Resistance to this hidden world to take down the First Order? Isn't it convenient the entire planet of the Star Destroyers only has one navigation tower? Isn't it convenient the Death Star gets obliterated but leaves big enough chunks to hide a treasure map? Isn't it convenient things can just teleport through the Force?
I forgot about the freaking lightsaber magic trick. That just made me so angry. When you said that, I was like, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. That's so shit.
I think they took it a little too literally when Kylo Ren said to leave the past behind, kill it if they have to. Yeah, they killed it alright. Killed my love of Star Wars. This film accomplished one thing perfectly. Kill off the last of the old trio in the most meaningless way possible. The Skywalker saga is finished. They're all dead. Isn't that so satisfying? The Solo lineage is dead too. What a wonderful way to send off our heroes. Now look, I know that in real life things aren't fair. Life doesn't always work out. But this is a fantasy. It's entertainment, right? Isn't it supposed to help you escape from reality? I don't want it to be depressed. I want to be thrilled. I want to be excited. Not too excited though, or else I might die and fade away like Ben after he kissed Rey. The characters with non-existent chemistry. What kind of payoff is that? Who thinks of this garbage? Well, there we go, folks. No one left to carry on the legacy. But wait! Palpatine's bloodline gets to live on. What a wonderful way to honor the legacy of Star Wars. Who would have guessed that all the way back in Episode 1, Senator Sheev Palpatine would become the through line of the whole story? This isn't the Skywalker saga, this is the Palpatine saga. How the most powerful Sith Lord dodged death, I don't know how many times, and never learned to turn off his lightning. Mace Windu reflects it back and he turns into a raisin. He gets thrown down the shaft of the Death Star and blows himself up. And then he roasts himself like the bomb from Terminator 2 when Rey reflects it back at him, but this time she's all the Jedi, so it's better. Much better. And at some point years ago he impregnated someone and started a family. You know, just because you say, I'm Rey Skywalker, doesn't mean you're magically not a Palpatine. She's his granddaughter. Unless she never has kids, but really, man, this is how you wrap up the story, so that's it. The other 6 movies have no point. Anakin being the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, Luke fighting a galactic civil war and redeeming Anakin, didn't do shit. Thanks. By the way, she's known Luke for like 3 days and just takes his last name. It's kind of weird, no? She spent more time with Han and Leia. If you're gonna try to hide your true identity, why not say Organa or Solo? And you know, this movie even ignores itself. We get Finn not knowing what a jet trooper is. Oh, they fly now. They fly now. Hey, buddy, they've been flying since the Clone Wars. For thousands of years. Since the Old Republic. Oh, wait. Sorry, the Old Republic isn't canon anymore. Oops. But still, Finn, a former stormtrooper, has never heard of a jet trooper. Poe, who's been fighting with the Resistance for how long? Never saw a jet trooper? But the whole time we get Finn going, Rey, I need to tell you something. And Poe teases him, oh, what do you want to tell Rey? She even says, oh, what do you want to tell me? Oh, I'll tell you later. Okay, we never find out what he wants to say. It's not like it was anything important. But instead we get wasted runtime on him acting like a complete buffoon. They fly now. Thanks. Some real quality character development there. Speaking of quality character development, you think Kylo gives up the Vader fanboy shtick? Nah. He just rebuilds his mask. Stupid. Oh, Hux is the spy? Wow, where did this character development come from? That would have been a great thing to tease in the other 2 movies. He is the most dedicated spy probably in history of all time. He leads an attack that wipes out billions and billions of people on an entire solar system.
Bow to the First Order, and we'll remember this as the last day of the Republic! I'm the spy. I'm the spy. I'm the spy.
Even if he just decided to be the spy right that second. It's still a little weird he gets accepted by Poe, Finn, and Chewie.
I'm the spy.
What? You?
We don't have much time.
I knew it!
But he gets blasted away, so who cares? What a satisfying way to finish off the side villain. Why should I care about anything, if all these movies do is ignore each other? Rey goes back to Luke's hideout and throws his lightsaber into the fire, but Force Ghost Luke catches it. Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
The Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
Comedy mastery. I love it. Objects teleport through the Force? Sure, maybe the old non-canon stories had this. Maybe they had Force dyads too. But the other trilogies didn't have anything like this. But once again, why invalidate the year's worth of expanded stories? Just to steal from them anyway and make it worse. This trilogy ignores everything that made Star Wars great. Kinda like when Leia completely ignores Chewie at the end of Force Awakens. Hey, ignore your ex-husband's best friend who just witnessed Han get murdered by his own son. Perfect. What a perfect analogy. Ignore the 40 years of cultural significance. Ignore the reasons why this franchise has endured for so long. Ignore the fans that kept it alive for the new crap no one cares about. You know what's possibly the saddest thing about this trilogy? The cinematography is amazing. These are probably the best looking modern sci-fi fantasy movies to date. I feel bad for the crews that worked on these. From one camera guy to the others, you guys did a great job. Real people put real effort into these projects. For what? We never found out how Maz got Luke's lightsaber. Thanks for watching until the end. It really means a lot. You can subscribe to me here. I have some other fun videos you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to Max for more moviegoer reviews. We have a Patreon too. The link is in the description if you want to help out. Thanks. That's good.